we are commanded to pray for the flock. It's part of our responsibility as pastors, but it also has a sanctifying effect in us and actually draws us together. So it's something we have to do by command of the Lord, but it's also a gracious blessing. Talk maybe about the connection between praying for the flock and loving the flock well.
I think one of the best ways for a pastor to grow in love for his flock is that he has regular times he's praying for them individually. So obviously we advocate in this week and the books and things that the chapter that they read, that we would advocate for individual prayer and to pray specifically and even contact people. But from the pastor's perspective, especially a newer pastor who's getting to know people, and of course, as I experienced and you experienced, not everybody receives your ministry right away, right? So I think regular prayer for the individuals and praying for the people who aren't receiving your ministry. There's it's said in all kinds of different circles, right? But it's hard to be mad with somebody you're praying for. And I think God just does a work in growing in love for people. It almost creates the essence of their humanity when we would go to the Lord to them and pray for them and the needs that they have. And I think it just is going to soften a pastor's heart. So that's just a really easy thing to do. One, you can't force it, but to try to foster a love for the flock. But we have to trust the Spirit of God indeed works through that. Have you found that too as well when you pray for the people in your church?
Absolutely. Had a pastor say when he had a difficult member of the congregation who was causing conflict either for him or for the congregation, that the Lord had taught him over the years to pray for that person. And often there's a struggle, there's a different spiritual struggle that's going on in that person's heart, and that would cultivate the right attitude in him for that church member. And of course that's true. And we see it happen in crisis. So when a member of the congregation goes through crisis and we're forced to step into that situation to provide care, and then of course to pray for them, it does cultivate in us a greater love for them. But I think what we're talking about here is even being more proactive than that, not waiting for a crisis in their life, but having a regular way to plan to pray for the members of the congregation, so that even when we don't know about the circumstance in their life, the Lord is cultivating in us this love for them.
Yeah, and it's such a helpful way to just do the pastoral care side of it. I mean, to pray for somebody, to reach out to them, to let you know you prayed for them. I mean, that's just one of the simplest ways for any pastor to engage. Again, if we're, Hebrews 13:17, if we're to keep watch over souls like we're going to give an account, we've got to have some kind of pattern where we're praying for those individual souls. And I will say this in regard to, because we were talking a minute about praying for people who are difficult to love and pray for. I think we need to remember prayer is going to the Lord, and we need to be authentic in that. So I think a pastor, there's nothing wrong. I think it's even good to start, Lord, I want to pray for this person. I'm having a hard time wanting to, be authentic even as we pray to God about this. Don't miss how God's going to work in that when we come in honesty and vulnerability and authenticity about praying for the people who we really have grown to love and the people who maybe are harder to love.
That's right. And there will be those challenging folks in every congregation. And that having the right heart posture toward the Lord in that, like you said, of transparency and vulnerability, even in that the Lord will use in us. And by the way, the Lord is sanctifying us too. So we're praying for the flock for them. We're interceding on their behalf. And we're hoping in all of that, as in all of pastoral ministry, that God is still sanctifying the pastor too. And this is a big part of it.
Absolutely. If a pastor does what we're supposed to do in this command and praying for the flock, that there should be an expectancy that God's going to work in the pastor just as much as whatever we're asking him to work in the people's lives we're praying for.
Yeah, praying for the flock is a joyful obligation, something we're responsible to do, but something that God really blesses in us and in them.